Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Sovereign Village Project. Once again, this Sunday, we're doing a community minute, not a community hour. We just have way too much to do. We are outside working all day. We're trying to clear a spot for a shed site. We're getting our new shed in here this week, which we're very excited about. Yep, we're going to be putting all sorts of storage. We're going to have a workshop and not be working out of the back of my van, which is going to be wonderful. But we are also very busy right now, as is everyone in the county, dealing with a disaster. We have really had our little version of SHTF here in Hickman County this week. We got up to 17 inches of rain in some parts of this county.
Within, like, I don't know, 8 hours?
Yeah, so just all at once. And so we've had catastrophic flooding all weekend long. The local team, all the teams have been out doing water rescues. They're still doing water rescues.
And recovery efforts, too.
Recovery efforts. There's been a lot of deaths in this county and the neighboring counties. And there's a lot of people missing. There's an entire town underwater. It's been a disaster. But
just in one city, 10 dead and 40 were missing as of this morning.
It's pretty horrifying, really. And this is probably what we can expect more of in the southeast as we go into this solar cycle, which most people who are not inside of the AGW, anthropogenic global warming propaganda mindset, they understand that we are coming into this new solar cycle that's going to mean a lot of rain in the southeast. Now, with all the climatic changes that are happening around the world, that's not the worst thing. We do have to deal with flooding, but I'll take extra water. You know, I can make my systems work around that. We just need to design our systems to actually handle that. But this week, these last couple of days have been a great eye-opening experience and a good way to start thinking about how is our community going to adapt to really difficult times, to crisis, to the political instability that's coming up, to the climatic problems that are coming up, to the food shortages that are coming up. So some little just takeaways that I've noticed from the past few days. The biggest is communication. As roads started getting washed out, we have major highways out, we have bridges washed out everywhere. As that started to happen in real time, everybody was on Facebook in community groups trying. I was on Facebook.
The only way we could find out, about anything was community groups, because the people who were directly involved in the situation were too busy to, be updating, continuously. And our local newspaper does not really interact on social media, and so there was no way to
no central hub for information. And so if you think about natural disasters, there are different central hubs for different disasters. You've got your NOAA radio for tornadoes and things like that, and that's a great source of centralized information. But you realize that we really need to kind of decentralize our information sharing and take this on ourselves. It's clear that the government here is just never going to be capable of dealing with this kind of thing as adequately as they could, because in the end they're underfunded, as they should be. I don't want any more government out here, and it's just overwhelming for their resources, and they just can't get resources out here fast enough. Nobody has the capability to deal with that.
And these events are usually so
it's a 100-year
infrequent.
Event.
They're so infrequent that it doesn't really make sense to pay one person to do this.
So for me, I've realized that this is a big thing that I need to shore up. I need to fix the communication problems here. So one thing we're going to do is really brainstorm what we can do with the fire department that we're on, and they do a lot of swift water rescues and a lot of stuff like that. So we need to address our communications. Obviously, we have standard emergency radios. But Gabby runs the social media. We may be able to do some stuff with social media to update the community more. We probably need to find alternatives outside of Facebook, because as you know, many of us are getting locked out and censored on a lot of these different platforms. So we need to really think outside the box of how to communicate during crises. One thing I've looked at is bringing in more radios, buying radios, and then kind of stocking them around the neighborhood within a couple of mile radius. I've got a lot of friends around here and a lot of like-minded folks, and so giving different folks radios so we can all be in contact with each other and have a decentralized hub. I mean, potentially we could even set up Faraday cages and have a completely decentralized communication network with extra batteries and maybe some solar power or something, where in just about any scenario that you can imagine, we would still be able to communicate, which would be a massive advantage. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. It's something we're still just beginning to wrap our brains around the problem before we can really start thinking of a lot of solutions. But clearly, we need to address communication in our community, communication between the people in the community, and communication with those who are leaders, those who are, running the fire departments, who are the emergency management folks, neighborhood watch folks, militia, whatever it is. We need to make sure that all of these folks have communications with each other, but then also with the broader community.
And even having access, or like having a network of people that you can reach out to, if reaching out to local authorities is not possible. So, like, for example, in the city that basically got totally flooded, didn't their emergency
their 911 center went completely down. Thank you for bringing that up. So they actually they built their 911 center in the floodplain. And so that was the first thing to go down in the worst disaster that this town has ever experienced. I mean, horrible, brutal things that, like,
can you imagine,
children dying and
being in that situation, not being able to get
couldn't
through
call 911.
to 911.
On their social media, they posted a picture of a Post-it note with their phone number because they didn't have 911. So clearly systems break down, and it seems like increasingly things are breaking down as, you know, the lockdowns have their effect on society as we lose our social cohesion, as we experience economic and food supply collapse and environmental collapse. I can only envision that government services will not be able to cope with it. Like, really, those of us who are anarchists are going to get our way whether we like it or not, and it's going to be a lot more frightening than we realize. So we need to be proactive about preparing for what's coming and getting our communities ready. So this isn't a solutions video, it's more like let's start thinking about solutions kind of a video. And perhaps we'll do the next community hour on this topic, and we'll really explore it more in depth as we've brainstormed and talked with the department and talked with community leaders.
And learn from you guys too, if you've ever experienced, or if your area has ever experienced something like this, and if there have been any, you know, innovative solutions to come out of that.
So just something to think about. Everyone, think about communications in your community and tying resources together and just connecting with your neighbors outside of social media, outside of the normal channels, because we need to be resilient and diverse in our communications. We need to have a lot of options and good ones. All right, everybody, hope you're staying safe, hope you're staying dry. In the meantime, stay safe, be well, and happy homesteading.